All right, good afternoon, good morning. I guess it depends on where you are living here in the country. It's morning here on the Pacific Coast, 10 a.m., and thought I would talk a little bit how the system is built for corruption. Want to thank All Nighter Hider. He sent me a video link to an awesome video describing the underlying economic forces, and I thought it was great and I would share it with you guys. There's a link down in the description, and it's pretty much going through all the stuff that I've ever talked about when it comes to Gresham's law, Cantillon effect, all the underlying economic forces. But there's another one that I had heard of and never really thought much about until I saw the video, and I thought, man, this is pretty profound, and we really should introduce it into the underlying economic forces, and that's Goodhart's law. Now, I pulled up the Google search here, and it says really simply, when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. And now this is something interesting to think about, because pretty much everything within economics comes down to some sort of measure. Unemployment, GP, your wage, whatever, like how much wage increase, all this stuff comes down to these numbers. But the moment that they start making these things a target, like we have to maintain this particular target, the corruption starts to fall in to maintain that target. So obscurities start to take place that normally wouldn't happen in order to make the numbers the target, in order to get there. And now I kind of thought about this myself. I'm thinking, okay, so I tried to relate a lot of the underlying economic forces to my own personal experiences. And I thought about it myself, and I'm like, okay, well, me personally, when I do sales at work, I think about how many transactions I can do. Now, I know that those numbers show up. And so when somebody's looking to see how many transactions I do, they're a lot, because I try to do as many as I possibly can. Now, there's all kinds of things to do, right? It's not just about doing transactions. I work at a store. There's all kinds of things to be done there. There's lots of stocking. There's trucks to be unloaded. There's sweeping and cleanup and all kinds of stuff. There's only a handful of people, but my focus is on answering the phone and doing transactions. Now, if I occupy my time doing phone calls and transactions as much as I possibly can, my numbers are going to show that I do a lot, right? But I forced that to be the outcome. I wanted it to be a higher number. Now, if I was to equally share like everybody should at the store, but not everybody does the same things. Like some people like doing sales, some people like doing stock, some people like doing other parts of management within the store, like bookkeeping and things like that, that doesn't have anything to do with anything that I'm doing. Everybody has to pick their own path on what it is that they are doing there at the store. But it was the mental awareness that I want that particular number to be higher, and then I forced the outcome by doing it, like literally making it happen. So now when I think about government numbers, and people are like, well, this is what unemployment is, and this is all that, and I'm like, man, these things are so fake. Like there's nothing there that has any kind of reality to it. They're all subject to interpretation, and they are all subject to revisement. They're all subject to be something other than what they are showing them to be. Do I need to turn the Wi-Fi off here? Hold on one second, guys. All subject to what it is. Some other interpretation or revisement is going to be to those numbers. They're never the reality of what it is that people are seeing. Right? They always go back and say, oh man, they're much different from what they were. And now, so when I think about FASB 56, and that is the government trying to protect the security of the nation by deploying numbers out there for us to look at that may not be the actual numbers, they don't even hide it. Like, they don't even try and hide the fact that they change these numbers around for their national security reasons. And so when I think about what it is that people are even looking at out there, it's complete illusion. Like 100%, like all these numbers are an illusion for people to then argue over and talk about. And I'm thinking, man, you guys are thinking and arguing and talking, not like you guys, but the media and everybody else is thinking and arguing and talking about a particular subject that has no real value to even take away, or to even focus in on, to take your energy from. Like like it's a complete like ball of nothingness, right? And so when I think about it, it's like people say, well, all the time, I was just like, man, you look at the numbers, and I'm thinking, well, not really. I don't look at the numbers. What I do is I look at the numbers that they are using in order to predict what it is that's going to happen with monetary policy, because monetary policy is, again, fixed on these particular numbers. So as I say, yeah, the unemployment number is historically low, and people are like, dude, no, it's way higher than that. And I'm like, yeah, I know it's way higher than that, but the way higher than that is not being used to incorporate into monetary policy so that we can better understand what is going to happen with the currency system. Because now a lot of people have focused their life so close to the currency system, the economy, and the politics, that any kind of little disruption or change or confusion that takes place within it then very much impacts their life. And so when I look back here to Goodhart's law, when people are like, oh man, you just don't understand, they got Jeep, the inflation number is this and all, and I'm like, man, and none of that has any real, that has nothing to really do with anything unless you incorporate that number into the monetary policy decisions. Now, if you're going to use it for that fact, and you can say, well, they use this numbers at this game, and you can sit back and you can look at what they're going to do with the numbers to the game, even if they're playing with those numbers and they're making up this game, right? If you can understand it enough, you can say, okay, well, maybe I can position myself to take advantage of this particular situation, right? Like, I don't know what it is that you got going on in your life that you need or want or desire, but there is a way of being able to focus in on something that is outside of, looks like something that's outside of the focus of what's going to be your impact, and how it is that that can then be used to generate something that is going to be more beneficial in your life. How's it going, guys?
The car broke.
I just unlocked that again.
So
like open it to unlock it. Unlock the door. There we go.
So, that door can't work for me this side.
And now the unlock button won't work at all.
This is great news to have for a 99 Ford Explorer. Okay.
And the only doors that work are these two and this one.
Oh yeah, you unlocked it though, right?
I did. And then once you.
Oh, I thought you already unlocked it. Yeah. Okay.
Good times, guys.
No, it's not.
No, it's not, Freddie says. Alright, well, I don't know. I guess I have to mess with that later. See if I can get at least the driver's door working. That'd
At least,
nice.
even if it's unlocked all the time, it'd be fine. You know.
Isn't that always the case, guys? Alright. Alright. Vehicles, gotta love them, man. Especially these old ones. See, this is the case. That's what I love about, like, people are like, man, you got you got all these repair issues and different things. And I'm like, yeah, that's what ends up happening. Like, all of a sudden, the doors don't unlock and you can't open the driver's door, right? Oh, so ridiculous. All right, let's go and read some of these comments
Almost
here.
forgot.
Oh, thank you, Mama. I lost my train of thought. Okay, let's read some comments. All right, easy fixes. Yeah, it should be. It's probably just something going on. Buy Bitcoin, focus on your craft. It's a peaceful life. Yeah, well, something else that I've kind of learned is that, my issue is that I'm trying to remove the blocks in my life. Like, I realize how much I actually block things in my life. And I was trying to get into it a little bit yesterday's video, but really I'm trying to think more and more about how it is that I have actually blocked many things in my life. And by removing the blocks, I was able to allow in so much more into my life. And, for example, a lot of times I had thought about wanting a YouTube channel. I had started many YouTube channels, but didn't really go anywhere with them. And like many people who want a YouTube channel, they immediately start thinking, well, I need the right camera, I need the right mic, I need the right setting, I need the right, scripts, I need the right stuff. And they have all this stuff that they need. And those are the blocks. Those are literally like the blocks, the walls to say, hey, I need all this stuff first that I can't do it with. not knowing that really in order to have a YouTube channel, you just need to start posting videos. And when I took on that kind of idea that I was just going to start doing just that, post YouTube videos, and it didn't matter really what it was that I was going to post, I just was going to post them every day. And so when I had fallen into economics and thought, man, this is easy enough to do for me because I love talking economics, I started considering the YouTube channel like my own personal journal. And then I didn't worry about what people were going to say. I didn't think about what it is that I was trying to do. I wasn't thinking about the money. I wasn't thinking about anything. It's just like posting videos. I was just like, hey, it's a personal journal. I'm going to post a video and go about my day, and it's like whatever or whatever. And so when I think about all the times that I had created YouTube channels and the resistance that I had literally developed to prevent myself from actually achieving a YouTube channel. And the moment that I relinquished all that, just said, hey man, it ain't no big deal to have a fancy camera, mic, or anything else, or even doing edits or any of that stuff. Like, I don't have to do edits. In fact, I found it even more cumbersome to do a pre-recorded video and upload it than to just do live streams. And like, ultimately, I refined my YouTube channel to be as easy and convenient as I could possibly do it for myself, so that I could get the most benefit out of my time with not only the audience, but then my time in life. And I thought, man, why did I ever think it was going to be so hard? Right? There's like literally nothing that stops me, or that, like I needed in my life, other than to download the app, sign up, turn the camera on, and do videos. And it was like, that's it, and there was nothing else to it except for dedication and then the energy that I was putting into it, because again, I wasn't putting in any kind of energy that had any expectations. It's like this is where like focusing in on intention without importance, like putting attention to intention. Like, I intended on making a YouTube channel, right? I paid attention to it. I did it all the time. I interacted with the comments, but I didn't have any importance involved. When I did that, everything lines up. The energy is right. It resonates right. Everybody starts like looking into it and saying, hey man, this guy's pretty cool, entertaining, kind of funny sometimes, puts out some decent information every once in a while that they can relate to, and man, like, it takes off, right? So understanding this is the same energy that goes with everything out there. It doesn't matter if it's a YouTube channel or the business thing that you're trying to model after. It doesn't matter if it's the interaction down at the bar. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what it is. It's the feeling and understanding of what it is that you are doing, that intention, that attention to intention minus the importance. And that is so like critical to really being able to have the things in your life that you really want, because most of the time, if you don't do that, what you're going to do is you're going to put the walls up. I need a better camera. I need a better mic. I need a better setting. I need to be able to edit. I need to do all these things. Right? And for most of the time, instead of saying, wow, you know what would do better is if I could better edit. Right? See, that's not a wall. That's an experience. That's like you taking on the skill. Instead of thinking about it, saying, oh man, this is a block, I can't do it because I can't edit. It's hey, I need to edit. Right? I need to learn how to speak without saying and whatever, like, all those things. I know I had to do pre-recorded videos over and over and over again because I would do that. And as soon as I said it, I would stop the video and start it again. And eventually I just gave up on saying it. Sometimes I repeat the same word over and over again, like. All right. I enjoy your what is this? Leniency? Is that a word? How do I? Is it deplorable? All right. on the comments and your consistency, Simon. Thank you. Yeah, you bet, deplorable. I like how deplorable, and I get into it, and like I get offended by some of the things he says because he knows exactly how to trigger me. But it's always a perfect comment for it too. All right, editing, yuck. Yeah, I don't want to spend time doing that. Some love it, not me. See, that was what's funny about it, is that I ended up developing a YouTube channel which doesn't have edits, which I think is really interesting because, like, I don't know how many other people do it. I know a few people do, but I'm like one of the few people who's like just straight 100% lives, no edits, in every single like interview that I've ever conducted. Like when I'm doing the interview with other people, it's always been start the camera to the very end, no edits whatsoever. It's important to have it flow in this way because anything else is subject to manipulation tactic. Right? If I can't bring it to you straightforward, off the cuff, like ready to go, then what is it? Then did I go and figure it out first and then try to tell you the right answer and then make sure I get the right and perfect sentence every single time and then edit all these sentences together so it sounds like I'm just some perfect genius or something like that? And then, or I can answer it on the fly. You know, doing it live is the only way. It's the only way I could do it because anything else that I would do would be essentially faking it. All right. I mean, it would be like that would be it. You know, if I can't do it live in person right now on stage with the cameras on, then what's the point? You know. Hey Simon, it has to make sense, and you do. Bottom line, I like to learn from you. The gift of conversational teaching, in my opinion. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And you know, it's funny because people ask me how is it that I learned a lot of the stuff that I have, and it's literally through experience. I am one of the type of guys who really loves, like, not only just the trial and error, but the proof of concept. Like if I could get like, you know, sometimes like, wow, how does that thing work? Like if I built something in like this and it flowed, would it actually make a result in the way that I'm thinking it would? Like I could put this rickety thing together and just test it and see if maybe I can get a result that is similar to what it is that I'm hoping for. And if I can achieve that, I'm like, yeah. And then that's as far as I ever go with it. Like people are like, man, there's $1 billion idea. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I got what I wanted out of it. I wanted to see if it would work, right? I wanted to see if I could make that happen. And if I can make that happen, then I'm kind of satisfied with what it is that I was trying to do. And so a lot of times, like this will happen. Like, I mean, it came down to like, to be honest with you guys, this was a funny one because it just triggered a thought of when I tried to come up with the best way to pluck chickens because we were raising these birds. Now, ultimately, there's a chicken plucker mechanism where they tumble around, and they have these rubber fingers that kind of essentially just pull the feathers off. But there was other ways that I was trying to come up with it, and one of it was to have a wheel spinning with pieces of bungee cord, like rubber bungee straps that I had cut. And these things would spin around, and I'd kind of put the chicken up there, and hopefully it would pull the feathers off. But it ended up just slapping your hands more than anything. But it did pull the feathers off, which I thought was cool. So anyway, that was just what triggered that thought. And I thought to myself, man, I remember I built that thing, and it was such a clumsy, little, rickety, ugly thing that I had put together. But I wanted to prove that it worked before I tried to get a better idea out of it. Like before I really tried to take the concept any further. And that's what I've done with a lot of stuff out there. I don't know how many other people think that way, but I'm sure there is. Like, you know, it's one of the reasons why I ended up getting into economics is for the same reason. It was like, man, how come? And I started like, you know, what is? And then I just kept going deeper and deeper. And next thing I know, I'm like, oh man, I am way deep into this stuff. And people are like, how did you get all this? And I'm like, I really don't know. I really don't. I mean, it is everywhere all the time. Okay. Hey Simon, if Trump pushes unemployment to the point where they feel like they need to lower interest rates, is this Trump playing the Fed? If Trump lowers the unemployment rate, is Trump lowering like, I mean, I know people want to blame Trump, but I never really gave Biden any problems, and I don't really blame Trump for anything. Like I blame the credible threat of tariffs that have then forced the monetary policy into the direction which it does, which is what I'm really truly focused in on. And it's not so much the policy actions of the administration, but more the people's reaction to the administration that I am more focused in on and more truly believing is the manipulation tactic of not only the Federal Reserve, but the administration itself. So now when I think about it from the theories that I have had, which is that of whatever perception is pushed into the people that either increases or decreases the inflation expectation, that is what is the monetary policy, not the interest rate adjustment, but the expectation about the interest rate adjustments in relation to what it is that people are feeling about inflation. And a lot of that has to do with unemployment. Now, I know that's incredibly complicated, and people want a simple, like, can't you just answer it in 10 seconds? No, I can't, right? Because ultimately, to understand the Federal Reserve's monetary policies, you not only have to understand it the way that they used to conduct themselves, but you also have to understand it from the credible threat theory. Because the way the credible threat theory works is that they discuss the Federal Reserve in the old fashion of how they conducted themselves in order to manipulate the people's expectation about monetary policy and the future of inflation and unemployment and all that other stuff. Right? And that's one of the things that I've been trying to share on this channel for a long time. And I'm now getting to a better understanding of what it is that needs to be delivered for information to the people at a particular level of understanding. Like if you're looking at the economy and thinking, what is it that Trump is doing to force the Federal Reserve? You've missed it. You've really missed it. All right? Because that's not what's happening. That's not the way I see it. Okay? Now, are there things that are out there that are forcing the Federal Reserve to do things? Yeah, but think about what it is that they are being forced to do. The credible threat of COVID, right? Nobody cares about COVID anymore. What happened to COVID? Like, did COVID go away? No, right? Nobody just cares. Nobody cares. Everybody cares about tariffs, right? Okay, so COVID's not the credible threat anymore. Tariff is. Right? Used to be war, used to be, whatever, supply chain breakdowns, used to be whatever. Today, it's tariffs, which involves a lot of the same kind of elements of supply chain breakdowns from COVID and war and everything else, but it's its own thing, right? So it gives something for people to be very concerned about and to be focused in on. Now, with that credible threat of tariff, they can have a resulting monetary policy on account of that, right? How does that work? By raising and lowering the inflation expectation, you will raise and lower the neutral interest rate. Now, knowing that the neutral interest rate will have an effect on the economy that is either restricting or accommodating the Federal Reserve or the financial system based on where the Federal Reserve has positioned the Fed funds rate. So if the Fed funds rate is below the neutral interest rate, it's stimulating the economy. If the Fed funds rate is above the neutral interest rate, it's causing a resistance in the economy. It restricts the economy. Or the financial system. I shouldn't say the economy. It restricts the financial system. There's a difference inside of that, and I should start explaining it in that fashion, right? Because the economy is you and me and everything that we do. The financial system is the banking system with loans and borrowing money and all that other stuff, which do very much interact together, but they are definitely different things. So when the Fed funds rate or above the neutral interest rate is restricting the economy, and when it's below the neutral interest rate, it's accommodating the economy. When we think about what happens with inflation expectation based on the credible threat of COVID, war, supply chain breakdown, or tariffs, right? That will raise or lower the neutral interest rate, which is the real monetary policy coming, right? That'll raise or lower the restriction level within the economy. That's what I have been focusing on because the Fed doesn't move that much. And even if they did, it takes 6 months to a year before it really impacts the economy. So to even think about the Federal Reserve in an interest rate adjustment, it's going to be a year down the road before it has a real full impact on the economy. What does the expectation do? It's immediate. Like, why think about the Fed and the adjustment of rates when that's a year down the road, when you can think about what it is that they are deploying for information today? The more you see it, the more you recognize it that way, the less you have a belief that they are trying to force the Federal Reserve to do anything. The idea of what it is that the credible threat of tariffs have done is actually made the economy less restricted. People had a hard time seeing that. Myron, the newest Fed governor, or Fed, is he? Yeah, FOMC voting member. He's the newest one to the game. He is saying that the neutral interest rate is falling, but yet all the rest of the FOMC have been talking about it rising the entire time, up until Myron said that it was falling. So now that's one member of 11 other voting members of the FOMC. You can't see the neutral interest rate in real time. Now, I have found through their own words that they will use confusion as part of creating a better policy. When many Fed officials come out the same time and say different things, it creates stimulating debate, it adds to the confusion, and ultimately creates a better monetary policy for them. When I recognize it happening, when I see it plain as day and I point it out, people will ask me again, what is it that the Federal Reserve is going to be doing since Donald Trump is going to force them? And I'm thinking, it's hard to say, it's hard to describe, right? Because that isn't it, right? It's not the question. That's not the question that should even be asked. You know? The question that should be asked is, how far away from neutral do you believe the Fed funds rate is, based on the inflation expectation of the people? That's the question. Because that distance between the Fed funds rate and the neutral rate is the importance. That's where the financial system is restricted. How much restriction takes place when the Fed drops interest rates, and so Myron says the neutral interest rate falls? How much less restriction has taken place if the Fed is following the neutral interest rate down? There is no less restriction. It is just as restricted as it ever was. How many people understand that? Very few. Now, if it worked the opposite, which I believe that it does, and that you would see the neutral interest rate rising based on the inflation expectation from the credible threat of tariffs, and that is what I believe is happening right now, and you have a neutral interest rate rising, then it's going to make the economy far less, or the financial system far less restricted than anybody would ever give a consideration for. And now we see the top 20% of people, 10% of income, household incomes, killing it inside of their consumption and in their economy. And 80% of the people, all the working class individuals, they're suffering the consequences of this. Talk about a corrupt system. Like, it's built for corruption. Like the whole idea that they are even going to look at a number and say, hey, we're going to target this number, that is immediate results that's Goodhart's law idea that says that's going to be an immediate corrupted thing, right? It immediately becomes invaluable. You can't use it. And that's what all the government numbers, all the banking numbers, everything is suffering the consequences of Goodhart's law. Knowing the underlying economic forces to begin with, to know it from the start, to understand that if we are going to have an economy that is going to continue to inject new money into the system, that we are going to have ever increasing amounts of separation between the rich and the poor. To find evidence of that coming from research papers like the one that we were discussing yesterday that says that by 2043, there's going to be 65% of people out there are going to be living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, how many times have I tried to share how it is that the separation between the rich and the poor are growing ever increasingly more based on the idea that the government should do something. Because every time the government does something, it injects more money into the system and injects more debt into the system. And anytime you inject more debt money into the system, what you are going to have is that money flowing right to the top, and people go like, how come they have so much and we have so little? And I'm thinking, man, did you ever think that maybe it's because you're begging the government to do something? Like, to understand that that is going to continue no matter what, unless you have a complete and utter collapse of the entire system. Like, I mean, I'm talking like Mad Max scenario stuff. Not going to be pleasant for anybody. There is no reversal of that. Right? It's either Mad Max or continued corruption. Better figure out how to survive through that, because there's nothing you can do to change it. The system is inherently corrupt. Think about this. Goodhart's law is saying it straight up. The system is inherently corrupt when you have targeted a number. Unemployment can't go this high. We have to have a mandate. Right? That's an inherently corrupt system by Goodhart's law. See, once you see these things, and like, that's why I gave up on it so long ago, but a lot of times people don't think that I have, but I really did. It's not the numbers, it's the direction in which they're going by how much. That's the important thing, right? It's not the target, it's not whether or not they're achieving the target, none of that stuff. That's all corrupted, you know? All right, moving on here. What time is it? We got 30 minutes into this live stream. Y'all having fun? I see $1.99 over there. Let me go check out the super chat real quick. There it is. Bud, thank you so much for the $1.99. You should watch Casey, the car guy. Yeah. All government shutdowns are good government shutdowns as long as my brother gets paid, because right now he's been furloughed because of this. So let's make sure we pay them later. Okay. If the government shut down for 3 months, the debt and the damage will be irreparable. Well, you know, here's what's funny about that. I mean, I've heard a lot about how irreparable debt, or the financial system can't handle, or the government won't be able to pay their bill, or all this other stuff. And what I find very interesting about that is that all the stuff that I have ever heard that like literally forced me into silver at one time, believing that there was no way that it could ever possibly continue on because of the sheer numbers who are just saying it, they found a way to continue on. And I just don't get it. Like, I mean, everybody has this belief that there is like, it's right around the corner, it's going to happen. And I think to myself, yeah, at some point. But has anybody ever given it any kind of consideration that they are coming up with new ways of dealing with and providing for a financial system that has never occurred? Like, if you were to ask an economist 25 years ago, everything that they knew about negative interest rates, they would have laughed so hard that they would have, like, you know, they would have just been rolling around saying that's not even a possible thing. Just a few years later, it occurred. Right? Negative interest rates were actually taking place. So something that is really odd for some people a long time ago, based on the ideas and perceptions of what it is that's going on within the financial system, the banking system, the government, and how it is that they conduct themselves, and they think, man, there is no way that they could. All of a sudden, manifest this tool like the digital currencies or tokenization of stuff, and you know, the cashless societies, negative interest rates. This stuff is a real idea that could actually come to the economy that could never, ever, ever have existed in a day just a quarter century ago. Right? It's better to evolve with it, to understand it, than to invest into failure. See, that's where I think a lot of times when people are looking at silver, they're saying, hey, I'm buying silver because at some point the silver manipulation game will fail. And all of a sudden, silver is going to go to its real spot price, its real market price. And I think to myself, that would be quite the event. But that's investment into failure, right? I'm investing into the idea that they can no longer hold on to the silver manipulation game. Now, other people can invest into silver, or even just invest. That's another relative term. Other people can buy into silver with the idea that they don't want it to end. Like I have said many times, it was just like I have no intentions on using my silver to buy Lamborghinis. I would much rather use it as an insurance policy, and the more I have, the better I feel about it. And there's no better way to get more of it than to have it manipulated down, right? So you manipulate that silver down to $20 again, that's going to be awesome because I'm going to keep loading up on it. But all these people say, no, let it go, make it happen, force it the outcome, force the failure to take place so I can become rich. And I'm like, I believed that at one time. It did not work. But the insurance policy did. Well, I know the path I'm taking. I mean, we're both buying silver, but you give a different meaning than I do. All right? All right. God is perfect. Father? Even a fool like me can have an 846 FICO score. Oh, bro, it was funny, Kirk. I was actually checking mine out yesterday, and I got an 841. Isn't that crazy? 841 credit score from somebody who never thought that they would ever have credit again. I got an 841 credit score now. Not that I use it for anything. All right. These people think they're going to be the richest person in Babylon. Chris Gouger. What's interesting about it is that if you can't even see it in other people, how could you possibly ever see it within yourself? See, that's what I find very interesting about the statement and the things that I have learned is that I thought to myself a long time ago, man, anybody could have a YouTube channel. When I made it successful on YouTube, when I started to gain some success here on YouTube, I thought to myself, man, anybody could do this. I'm not doing anything that special, right? And my wife had to remind me over and over again. It was like, how much time and effort and energy you went into doing the things that you can do to have the skills to be able to present on YouTube the way you do. Not anybody can do that. And I thought, okay, you're right. But anybody can have a YouTube channel and post videos. You're right. Not everybody's going to do it the same way that I can. Now, understanding deep down that I know anybody could do it, I also know deep down inside that anybody could become rich. I know they can. I know anybody can do it, and I know it's due to the feelings that they carry. In a feeling just like similar to the comment that was just played here. All these people think that they're going to be the richest people in Babylon. That belief says out there that not anybody can do it. That's including yourself. See, I believe anybody can do it, including myself. And I think that all the time. I think anybody out there can immediately change the way it is that they are conducting themselves to become the richest man in Babylon. All right? Because I know I can do it within myself if I just take the right steps, remove the blocks. All right? Where are my glasses? Let's see. The Rich Man in Babylon, very good book. It is. All right? It's a very good book. All right. Oh, oops. Your wife rocks. Yeah, she does. My Dollar Tree have saved me probably 50 grand so far in my life. Yeah. Well, just like I said before, anything that you have going on in your life is because of the energies and feelings and thoughts that you are carrying. If your feelings and thoughts and energies that you're carrying are that of, I'm a failure, I can't do it, nobody can really do it, it's their fault, it's not going to be anything that can change, I'm hopeless, what do you think is going to be the outcome from that? I mean, if that's the feelings that you're carrying, and those are the ones that you are expressing, and those are the ones you're putting out there to the world because you're actually using those words, right? And you're not carrying the thought, I can do as many transactions as possible. Right? So I just think to myself, which one of those outcomes would have been the one that benefited me the most? The one that says, man, it's hopeless, there's no point, we're slowing down, we can't do it, I don't know what it is that can possibly be done, everything is going to be, crashing around us, or just do as many transactions as possible and don't think about anything else. Which one of those two paths of thought do you think is going to be more successful than the other? Right? Simon, I sent you a payment via another method, and YouTube won't let me complete this super chat. I think it did. I got the $5. Felix the Cat, thank you. Felix the Cat 69, thank you so much. I really appreciate your comments, man. You've always had very encouraging, uplifting, and appreciative comments, man. I thank you for that, and I thank you for the $5 super chat too, man. That's really cool of you. I agree with you 100%. I was trying to say that people pray for collapse, but then what? You have some money saved, but you're still living in an economic depressed community. Chris, that's it. Chris Gouger, that's so true, right? Now, I think about it myself. I thought about what I would do during an economic collapse. I think about how it is that I would need to conduct myself, knowing that there are opportunities that most people need in their life in order to conduct themselves, mainly a day job, would not exist. How is it that I would conduct myself without a day job? How is it that I am going to deal with life in general, knowing that I have to possibly bail out because of the social fallout and criminal activity that may be taking place, and I have to get out of the situation? Like, these are things that I have like thought about. Now, how many people have thought about it to the level that I have on certain things can be much higher or much lower, right? But at least some people have thought about what it is that they are going to do. Now, when I think about an economic collapse and I think about what most people would end up facing in an economic collapse, it is not a pleasurable experience, and I don't want to go through it. I don't want my kids to go through it. I don't want to see what could possibly come from that, and other people out there saying, well, I'm a loner and I don't have anything going on, so hell, let's bring it on. That's a much different attitude and meaning that you're giving behind it. I would much rather recognize how it is that they are playing, manipulating, and corrupted this game so that I can now figure out what it is that I need to do in order to position myself to take the best advantage of it. Because there is people who are killing it right now. And to know that they are is like saying, I want to do as many transactions as possible. Same thing. Right? We could go over here and we could focus in on the worst part of it and saying, man, look how failure is taking place, man, we're going to lose it all. Or we could say, how many transactions can I get done? Because being over here focused in on how many transactions we can get done is going to give you the ability to then provide yourself with those opportunities to take advantage of the storm that's coming. All right, I wouldn't want to sort kids through this. Must be depressing for some youth trying to get their first work experience. But see, that's just the thing. That's it's not. The feeling that you're carrying that is the worst time for them is I mean, I get it. It is depressing. It's all that other stuff. But again, it's one of those things that you have to look at and say, man, this is heavy. But there are job opportunities that people are getting, right? So let's just set that on the shelf because it's too heavy to carry, right? And that's the burden. That's the walls that we're putting up that says, man, all these things that are preventing the youth from being able to have the best possible advantages of their life. We can set that up here on the shelf because that's heavy, right? We understand that it's there. And then we look to say, man, there are people who are getting jobs. Think, there are opportunities here. Where are those opportunities? How can I do it? Where is it that I can do the most transactions? Right? Bam, that's the direction we head to. See, everything else is going, like, if you want to see the worst in the world, then just think about it. If you want to see the best, think about it. That's it. Right? Infamous NYC. Thank you so much, man, for the $10, man. People post all the time about New York collapse. I lived there 12 years now and never see anything these people promote. So, same with market. I type in market going higher, algorithm shows me market collapse. Yeah. Well, I have to think about that myself, like what's going on with Portland right now, with the idea of deploying the National Guard troops and stuff like that. And I'm like, and I'm listening to the press. I'm like, I should bring it up. Anyway, so I'm listening to it, and so I'm like, okay, so to me, this is media propagandized information in order to create and, a political poll one way or the other. Okay. So look at it with some open, biased kind of ideas, even though I'm trying hard to do that. It's very difficult for me because I've already got my opinion, right? Egotistical opinion. So I'm listening, and they're talking about these protesters, these out of control anarchists who have taken a stop sign and used it as a battering ram and have wheeled out a guillotine. And that this needs to be pushed, and this footage needs to be pushed out there all over the mainstream media. This is what the press secretary was saying. And I'm thinking to myself, a whole stop sign. They got a stop sign down and they're using it as a battering ram, and you guys have faced a hell of a lot more than that. Like, a stop sign as a battering ram is your big need for the army to come in and deal with these violent protesters, when I'm thinking, no, man, there's some real violent protesters out there. That ain't violence. That's barely even showing any sign of force. That's ridiculous. It's completely fabricated, showing it off, problem, reaction, solution taking place right here, right now in front of me. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I cannot believe this is really happening. And then again, that's how it works, right? That's how this corrupted system operates. This is what they do. They take this little tiny event, try to push it into a big deal, so now they can react to it, and now you got force coming in to deal with this violent protesters who are out there taking the stop signs down and using them as battering rams. Ugh, it's just ridiculous to watch it. And I guess the worst part about it for me is like when I hear how it is that these people are being called anarchists, and I think to myself, nah, anarchists tried to get government out of their life. Those people are stepping right into the government. That is not anarchy. That's not even remotely close to it. Yeah. Loving the show, Simon. Well, thank you, Millennial Diligence. I'm having a hard time speaking. For the $4.99. You guys are awesome, hitting me up with these super chats again, man. You are the sponsors of this channel. And I think to myself, man, I love being free and independent of all that stuff out there. I can just come out here, be me, be natural, and share the information that I think is most appropriate for us. And I don't have anything else influencing that. It's just... thank you guys so much for giving me this opportunity. The media is lying. Stephen Miller is clamping down power before the midterm. Nobody can justify creeping algorithms. Algorithmism. Authoritarianism. There we go. Why did I say algorithm? Isn't that funny? That's the weirdest thing about having like this like weird learning disability, reading comprehension thing, is that I saw the word there, right? Authoritism, but I immediately was turning it to algorithm, and I couldn't stop it. It's so odd. Like I could see it in my head. I was saying it wrong. Yeah, I could hear it wrong. Yeah, but yet it was still coming out that way. I love that stuff. Anyway, see, another thing I had to overcome. Reading, learn, like all this other stuff. Like I got horrible grades in school. I never went to college. I never did any of that stuff. All right. Owner, that makes no sense. Anarchists want a form of government. Anarchists, the left, Antifa wants socialism. Do you want socialism? Anarchy is exactly the opposite of that. I don't know where the hell you think that socialism is relatable to anarchism. That is not even close. Like, anarchists literally do not want government involved in their life. Like that's the exact opposite of socialism. Socialism is introducing government into your life. Right? That's why I'm saying none of that stuff has anything to do with anarchy. Anarchists are sitting over there looking at that going, this crap, Anarchy is don't hand any of your power over to anyone. All right, his subs went from 80,000 to 110 down to 90. Who's that? All right, most protesters not from Portland, Oregon. Yeah, and that's what I found interesting about that too is, even the president is saying, "Hey, these people are being paid for. They know they're being paid for." You find where they slipped out and said essentially, like, who knows if that's real or not? I mean, it could be fake videos, but you've heard slipped out saying that they were getting paid. So I know that the power pendulums that are created from this will spread out in a way that may end up causing it to be on their own. Like, these money men go out there and say, "Hey man, start this protest off and we'll see what happens from it." And then the protest starts gathering steam and people start getting involved to it and they say, "Hey man, this is really important to me." And they start getting other people involved. And then the original people step out while the power pendulum continues to flow. Right? Now, something I found interesting by this is a while back during the whole Black Lives movement, right? Now, I know a lot of people, and I saw a video of an individual who was essentially on the other side, right, of that movement, and it was a video sitting on the dash. It wasn't like a dash cam video. It was just like him holding a cell phone video of, I assume, his buddies, right, wearing what essentially looked like fatigues, like military type stuff, or, at least in that kind of general sense, and shooting firearms on the streets of Portland, right? Like firing them down the street and stuff. And I'm like, I couldn't believe that I was actually witnessing this on this video, right? Knowing it to be the case. Like the truth of it. Like if it was anything else, I would have been like, well, maybe, who knows? But knowing firsthand where this video came from, I thought, holy moly, man, this is intense, right? And he showed me more stuff and I didn't want to see it. I was like, no, that's it, man. I'm good. Like that's it. You can tell me the stories, but I don't want to see anymore. Point being behind that, all that stuff, like all those people are gone. Like, where did it go? Where's the power pendulum? Like, they were like, so adamant about their cause. Where are they today? Like, I understand that the individuals within it may have been very into the moment, right? And they are very much believers of it. But the point being is that it created a power pendulum, this thought out there that got them involved. They swung it, and now it's dissipated. And I think, man, there was somebody out on the street shooting rifles. It was all paid for. What do you think, like, that gained the most out of that? Was it the people running around with the energy and the effort and the thought of what it is that they are doing as somehow being some sort of profound change to the way that things are going to happen out there in society? When today you can't find hardly any evidence of it whatsoever other than the memories and stories. Right? It's just the most amazing things that I see out there when I think about that. It's just like, how is it that people are conducting themselves in this fashion when really you should have been internalizing the information on what it is that you could be doing in order to conduct yourself the best way. Instead, they're out there saying, don't behave like this. Whoa. Interesting. All right. Very interesting. Is this the times that we live in? Is this the efforts that you need to put forward in order to make sure that you have the best outcome for your experience in this world? Like, I'm just wondering if that's it, because it's all gone now. And like all those people, all that battle, all those thoughts, all that anger and all that other stuff. I mean, I understand it still ripples through the social medias and the people's attention occasionally, but ultimately it's where did it go? Right? What could you have been doing with that time that would have put you in a better place than where you are today if that's what you have put your effort towards? I'm not saying that some people aren't sitting better today because of it. I'm not saying anything about how people went to jail because of it. Like, if you're fighting for your cause and you had total belief in it, and man, hey man, I'm proud, right? Be proud. Proud in every way. But I'm thinking to myself, man, if you didn't get what you wanted out of that because you were hoping for some profound change to this world, I don't know, man. I don't know what you did out there, because the corruption still runs just as thick and heavy as it ever has. Yeah, I don't like. I look at all those people who flew them. Like all these people out there in Portland. Like, I think about the frustration, like all these individuals who come out in droves to go and protest, and I'm thinking to myself, these people know exactly how to deal with you, and when you show up, you are standing out saying thank you for signing up on the list, letting us know who you are. Right? That's what ends up happening with a lot of those people. They expose themselves, and that's what they're trying to do. Get out there and show who you are. We want to know who you are. We want you on the list. And unless you come out here and protest and do something about it, we won't know who you are. Wow, look at all these super chats. I gotta go check them out. Okay. What's going on? All right. Falcon Strike for the $5. The biggest risk from tariffs is recession caused by margin squeeze, not inflation. Recession leads to deflation. Yeah, and I would agree with that. But, one of the things that I find kind of concerning about the whole idea is that the tariffs itself, which is going to be the cause of recession. So what happens if you relinquish the tariff? Would that be a stimulating effect to the economy, having the exact reversal? Like, here it is, you can have a forced recession, kind of like COVID. Shut down the economy, shut down, the supply chains, tell people to go home, force a recession, and then have an immediate response to it that essentially tries to cover up the recession, right? So think about that in the tariff form. Like, you have tariffs that are going to cause the recession, but then if you relinquish the tariffs and say, oh man, these things are illegal, what if, right? A big what if. If you relinquish the tariff and say, man, these things are illegal, think about the stimulating effect that would happen. Not only would people feel a lot better about the whole idea that the tariffs aren't going to be there, because since the tariffs are causing the recession, then exact opposite would happen, right? Tariff would be somewhat stimulating effect, and you would have the idea that the tariffs were deemed illegal would also be a stimulating effect, since they would have to essentially reimburse all the payments of tariffs back to the people who had paid them, which again would be like a benefit to the corporation. So to me, you can force the recessionary outcome instead of waiting for it to come, like make it come, like the self-inflicted wound, so that you have the response to deal with it. You wonder why Janet Yellen said back in the day she doesn't think we'll ever face another financial crisis in our lifetime. What if you fabricate the recession and the need to respond to the recession before it happens? I mean, it's all corrupt anyway. Doesn't make sense to begin with. But when you all of a sudden look at it and you think to yourself, okay, if that is to happen, would that be a stimulating effect? Would that, generate the economic output that they are looking for in order to reverse the recessionary pressures? Well, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? If the tariffs cause the recession, when I've been saying what tariffs anyway, because, something like the idea of Trump always chickens out wouldn't it be a concept of talk out there if it wasn't for the fact that tariffs are very confusing and not really manifesting out there the way that people thought that they would. Just like I thought it, right? I said we have to wait and see what kind of workarounds, what exemptions, what kind of like deals are made from these tariffs, but they're not going to be 150% on day one. None of that made sense. So the idea of Donald Trump chickening out already does, Gunner, the rest stop guy. Oh, hey, thank you so much, man. So, 4.99. It was cool. Like I meet people in the oddest of places. Like I remember one time I was down in Lincoln City, standing in the very corner of a parking lot, just kind of in the sun, right? Just like waiting for my family to go shopping at the shopping center there. And so I'm just sitting there, and the guy just walks by and he goes, "Wait a minute, I know you. You know, you're the uneducated economist." And I'm like, "Yeah, right on." So I wasn't anywhere near home when I met this guy. And same thing with Gunner here. Thank you so much for the 4.99 too. I appreciate it. Gunner has his own YouTube channel as well. But he was like, I was walking into the bathroom as he was walking out at this rest stop, and he was like, "Holy crap, the uneducated economist." I was on my way up to the Seattle Red Sox game at that time. That was cool. All right. Chris Gouge of $5. People need to get past the false left-right paradigm and realize that both parties lead our nation in the wrong direction and plays us for fools. Yeah, and that's the unfortunate consequences of following politics, and that, the idea that we need to do something about what's going on really lends us to the idea that politics are the something that we do. Now, what I find very interesting about this is that there is nothing you can do to think the difference into them, right? Like you can vote for somebody different. You can step up and try and share your understanding of what it is that's taking place out there and hopefully have some sort of following of people who say, yes, we need to vote for people down this particular direction. But outside of that, the individual who is constantly thinking about politics is literally sending themselves into a pit of despair. There is nothing that can change because you can't change anything about what it is that's going on out there. So to sit there and think about it, there are the liberals doing this and the conservatives, right? And unless you're going to deploy that information into a YouTube video or something, you're just going to sit there and spin on it, and it's going to mess with your mental health. That's the way like 90% of the people are out there doing it, right? Anybody who follows politics usually lives in that kind of hell. I mean, I'm sorry to put it that way because some people really enjoy the political scene and they get a lot of fun out of debating it and stuff like that. And I don't, because it was never more of a miserable experience in my life to try and figure out how economics work and what it is that I need to do with my life than to follow politics. It was the worst thing in the world. And in fact, it confuses the subject of underlying economic forces that are creating the environment that we now live in and the politics are responding to. All right, an hour into this thing. Thank you so much, everybody. Let me grab my glasses so I can actually see. All right. But it's absolutely right. There's it is a left-right paradigm for sure. You can really see it in things like the healthcare system. Like I remember when Obamacare came into existence, and the Republicans were so mad, so against it. They had all this idea on how they were going to absolutely destroy. The Democrats were going to destroy it all, destroy the entire economy, the government, all this other stuff because of this Obamacare. So anyway, and if you listen to a lot of the Republicans, man, they have some good things to say about it. Woo-wee, right? And of course, Democrats just said Democrats said that the Republicans just want old people to die and for poor people to die, right? Big back and forth. Then it passes. And then what I hear coming from the Republicans? We need to repeal and reform. Oh, not just repeal, reform. Reform it into something that you're more approving of. See, before you didn't want it at all, but now that it's here, oh yeah, no, let's excuse the idea of getting rid of it altogether. It's here now. This is a good thing, man. Let's use this to our advantage. We need to reform it into something that we approve of. They got it wrong. We can get it right. See what happened? Like they both argued for it, or one argued for it or against it, right? Get it into play. Then once it's into play, oh, now it's a game that we can both play. All right. Thanks for getting in. Let's get it in the game. All right. Why did you let your cousin out? Oh, I don't know what that is. Okay. Not my MAGA, make all government afraid. There you go. Jose, all caps is not necessary. All right. Let me quiz it back. Republicans criming faster than last time, Coach Greg. And actually, the moment you accept that you absolutely have no control over external forces in your life, you will probably be the greatest and most free moment of your life. Nathan, I love that you brought that up, man, because that's actually probably one of the best ways to look at it. When you start looking at life in a way that says, man, I am not responsible for other people out there. Like, I'm responsible for my kids, right? I put them here on this planet. I got to give them the best shot they can. When they turn into adults, they got to take off and do whatever it is that they can. And I hope that I am here for them whenever they trip or fall or whatever it is that they need. I hope I'm in a position in which I can help them. Those are my kids. Everybody else, right? Like maybe closer family, a little bit more. I feel that way. Everybody else, man, I'm not responsible for you guys, right? I'm not responsible for anything that happens within your world or your experience. I can't do that, right? I can't be responsible for the way you feel. I remember one time I had a lady say, "Why did you call your dog that?" And I'm like, call her what? It was like the pit bull. It gives it like this menacing sound to it. And I was just like, if I called it the poodle, would you have a problem with that? If I called it the Labrador, right? No, the breed was a pit bull. Like, Jersey's not with me anymore, but I always called her the pit bull, right? That was what she was. I had a pit bull. I had other animals. She was the pit bull, And so it wasn't trying to be mean or anything like that. And she had this like feeling that she got from it. And I'm like, you know what? I am not going to change the way that I communicate about my dog so that I can protect your feelings. Like, I don't like, is that something that we really do in this world? Is that we have to protect your feelings by the way that I talk about something that is mine? Like, it didn't have anything to do with you. The dog is a very nice dog. She was at home. She needed to go pee. I got to go home to get the pit bull out. Yeah, I mean, it was just like there was nothing. Why would you take that as being something that would turn into a negative? Because of the way you felt about it? Like, you got to check that. If things out there are making you feel like you are, like they did, oh, how dare you call her a pit bull? What in the world? Like, that's actually a thing? Like, people actually think that way? I didn't know that. Like, I mean, if somebody was just like over there messing around doing whatever they do, it was just like, man, okay, I'm going to look over this way, right? Because it doesn't have anything to do with me, right? I have always thought that way. Like, if it doesn't have anything to do with me, then it doesn't involve me, then why do I care? Like, I grew up in a very liberal area. I'm conservative minded. Talk about like counter forces that are taking place around, all over. I live in it. And what I find very interesting is that I communicate with a lot of people who are very liberal minded. And when they realize as I communicate that I am somewhat conservative in opinions to what's going on, especially within the economy, not necessarily so much in the social aspect of things. I'm not a Republican. They assume that I was something that I wasn't. They have no clue of who I am, but I'm not one of them. Right? And it happens that way. I actually seen it. They have no clue about what it is that I think and feel about anything going on out there. But since I didn't fall in line with what they just said, right? And it's, to me, actually, I enjoy it. I enjoy being in this area and I enjoy the mindset that I have. I enjoy having, the environment to look out that I do. I enjoy the people around here. I love it. I think this is a wonderful, beautiful place and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, Where's my glasses? All right. You adversely rhetoric ensures the billionaire class will crush us. I wonder who that was. All right. Damien, please. Creativity, misspell words the algo frowns on. Yeah, please do. It's like, I mean, I try not to do it too much. on the channel, but cussing, hateful comments, stuff like that, you know, that triggers the algorithm and it makes it very difficult to get the videos to spread around. All right, I searched for my glasses for 30 minutes last night. I just found that if I have like 50 pairs, that I'm pretty good, because then I just find where they all migrated to. Sometimes they're all in the truck. Sometimes they're all on the desk at work. Sometimes they're on my dresser in the house. But like wherever they end up, they always kind of group up there. I don't get it. Like right now I have 3 pairs in the truck, so I'm going to take 2 pairs in the house so that I leave one out here, and then, you know, eventually they'll all find that they go back to the same spot, you know. That was enough to let them know what to do. They call it purity testing. All right. If you want socialism, perhaps read the Gulag Archipelago. All right, my glasses are too expensive for that. When I put them down last night, I knew I would never find them. Oh, yeah. See, mine are like just cheap readers that I buy for like, you know, just a couple of bucks. Any fitness routine, Yui? Yeah, you work at a lumber yard, and the lumber yard has a set of stairs that you have to run up and down about 50 times a day. So if you work at a lumber yard and you do retail sales and you load those boards up yourself, you know, you sell them and then you have to go and load them up, and you're running up and down the stairs like 50 times a day in order to check inventory or to help the customers and do all that. That's about it. That's all you really have to do. You know, a little bit of cardio, a little bit more cardio would probably be helpful. Get the heart rate up there a little bit more. So, you know, take a walk down the jetty. That's what I did last night. The jetty's now open, the South Jetty. They had been working on it for a long time, so the family and I took a walk down the South Jetty for a ways, and that was cool. So outside of that, no, yeah, you don't need to work out much more after that. All right, yeah, I buy multiple pairs at 100 yen shop. They're either break or I lose them every 2 months or so. Yeah. Sweden and Denmark are not socialist or comparable to the US. That's right. Simon, look into K2 lens replacements. You'll never need glasses again and will never have cataracts. Interesting. Running from sea lions. No, I didn't see any sea lions last night. Again, name one socialist country that is successful. I'm waiting. I would like to, actually, I can't think of any single country that is successful anyway. They're just a matter, it's just a moment in time in which that they get the experience that they do, but it will not be everlasting. All right? You can try and hold on to it for a long time, and you may even give some sort of reasonable belief to the longevity of how long you can make it last, like, hey, their entire lifetime, but it all goes down the same way, right? Eventually the new money turns off and everybody falls into pain and misery. How long you can hold on to the experience of having new money coming into the system, from the luxurious or the suppression of luxurious experiences coming from the people, or the ever increasing amount of production and manufacturing that they can do in order to provide new money coming in, there will be an eventual time in which that it does turn off and the new money stops flowing in, and then the whole thing collapses. All right? So it's not a matter of a socialist country that can make it or not. That's not the point, right? None of them can do it. Not a single one. Right? I don't care what anybody says. There's just nothing that can actually last for any length of time, because the Cantillon effect has already described it many times. When you bring in new money, people who have access to that new money spend it at face value. When they spend it at face value, it starts to flow into the economy. The people who have last access to the money suffer the most as the prices have moved up. This is driving the wedge, and then you find domestic manufacturers leaving and ever increasing amounts of foreign production coming in because of that new money. Now, how long you can make it last, the government interventions, the subsidies, the whatever, that's anybody's guess. And longevity to that can be very long, in a sense that makes it feel like it's a lifetime, because it very well could be, but it doesn't mean it's going to last forever. All right. Socialism and communism isn't the same thing. I just got bad eyesight at reading distance in my 40s. I can still see pretty well further away, but reading clarity is moving past my arm length. Yeah, P. Morton, I'm the same way. Like I can see everything out there perfectly, like within fine detail too. Like, I mean, I can see like there's numbers on this box over here. They're really small. I can see it. It says 38-inch ring table. Like I can see just fine out there. It's everything right here. Everything right here is just blurry as hell. It is sad. Like it used to be in my life. I did like a lot of woodworking and stuff, and I looked at fine detail stuff, and I could see all these little tiny, details of all kinds of stuff. And now, without these, it ain't happening. Even with these, sometimes it's hard. Jose says, I want socialism. Well, I mean, I guess to each their own. All Night Hider, yes, thank you. That's coming from Chris. All Nighter Hider says, Jose, you're describing corporatism, in my opinion. Once you get glasses, your eyes adjust and you'll have to use them, but you wait too long, you get headaches. Yep, and I do get headaches. Owner 1032, I would like to remind you that even all of our greatest inventions were also worked on other countries. And this is the thing, like a lot of times people are like, man, the United States just produces all the greatest stuff. Well, we have to think about it. At the time that we were producing all the world's greatest stuff, we had the advantage of the world sending us all their like ideas. See, people were immigrating here to the United States. And when they showed up here, they brought with them their culture, their ideas, their systems, their capabilities. And when you start mingling all those things together at the same time, what do you think you're going to get from it other than a bunch of really good ideas? So this is really how the United States was able to like move so further at the time than anybody else could, because it had such a concentration of people with different ideas and different concepts sharing those and experiencing those things with each other, that they were able to rise together in such a fashion. Ooh, I disagree. I love it, the disagreements. I disagree. Owner. Oh, you guys are talking. Okay. You ever owned or bought a Japanese product? They're pretty damn well made. Yeah, they really are. Toyotas are the best. Best melting pot ever. Good point, UE. Yeah, it really is. And like that's and you have to just think about it at the time. Send us your poor and weak and sick or whatever it was that they were saying at the time. I can't remember. But, ultimately it was like, hey, just send us a bunch of people here, because we got opportunities going like you wouldn't believe. And all those people showed up at the same time and they're like, hey, I work on. I was like, oh, yeah. All right. I want free stuff. Jose, there is nothing in this life for free. And you are literally, I mean, if you're thinking like socialism provides you with free stuff, what it is actually doing, it is suppressing you from the ability to move into a luxurious experience. So they'll give you a place to live, they'll give you food to eat, they'll give you a job to work at, but none of that stuff will take you any further than where you're at. Because if they allowed you to express yourself, advance yourself, profit for yourself, and do all the other things that here in America we have the enjoyment of doing that anybody does it, but that we could do if we wanted to. If you didn't have that, then you are going to be in a position in which that you will never be able to move into a luxurious experience, which is exactly what they're trying to prevent you from doing. So if they could provide it all for you, then you will not go for the luxurious experience, because you simply won't be able to do it, right? Because they got control over everything that is in your life, your food, your living expense, your health, your everything, your job, it's all theirs, right? But they're allowing you to have your access to the free stuff, but you'll never move beyond that. That is them putting a boot on the face of humanity to prevent them, the people, from experiencing a luxurious way that would then force the underlying economic forces to remove the manufacturers and bring in ever increasing amounts of foreign production. creating the Cantillon effect. Socialism prevents that, right? Now, people might say, oh, that's a good thing. If you don't want to do anything in your life and have anything exceptional and just be subject to the government and their rules, and whether or not you actually get the health or the profit or the living or the job or anything else in your life that you are approving of, it's not your choice anymore. But, hey, it's pretty easy, right? For a while, till it doesn't work anymore. And then what happens? Just saying, what happens, You ever watch Animal Farm? All right. Everyone is going to take the mark if they offer $1,000 a month. Yeah. Remember, Japan is an island that only slightly bigger than Hawaii. All right. Why don't we focus on anti-corruption approach rather than socialism capitalism? Because the system is inherently corrupt. I mean, we're kind of learning that from Goodhart's law, right? Like, there's no way that you can really actually have this system operating in a way that would not be corrupted and expect it to continue onward. Like, the only reason why the system continues onward is because it's so corrupted. So, like, the system is just inherently corrupt. It's like you can't have the government and the banking system targeting numbers and then not expect them to manipulate the situation in order to achieve the target. Like, it's just going to happen. And there's no doubt about it. So knowing that the system is inherently corrupt, we can try to change the external forces that are out, or the external out there. Like, let's talk about ending the corruption. Well, that's fine, but it's inherently corrupt, meaning that it's there already. It's going to be there. And there's really nothing you can do to stop it. Now, you can exit yourself out of the system completely, but there's nothing you can do to repair it because the system is inherently got it. The moment that you repair it, it wouldn't exist anymore. So what you're saying is, let's create a new system. All right? If we want to get rid of this one, we got to have a different one. The idea that we need to change the way that people are behaving and acting and feeling and thinking out there is going to be impossible. It's not reality. The reality is we have to figure out what it is that's going on within this corrupt system so that we can better position ourselves to deal with it, because there is nothing else that can happen. Like, I'm on board. Like, if you got an idea, like, yeah, let's overthrow the government. Why not, right? I mean, it's probably going to fail at some point anyway, and might as well get it over with now. So if that's the case, let's do it. Let's get it over with, man. Let's go to a gold standard. Let's go to a Bitcoin standard. Let's go to whatever it is that you want to do. I'm down for it. I think I can conduct myself in any way. However, while we're debating and ideas and all the other stuff that could possibly exist out there, I'm also going to be making decisions based on what it is that's actually happening today. All right? Because all that other stuff is fantasy land. It doesn't, like, the idea that it could be something different. You're right, it could be something different. It's not. This is what it is. All right, power B to short people. What time is it? 11:28, 21 minutes into it. Okay, how about we give it another 8 minutes? We'll call it good, guys. We'll take it to 1.5 hours and go find something to do with our nice sunny Sunday afternoon, considering I probably don't have too many of these left. All right. Is Trash Man up in here? Trash Man's 8,600. Nathan, this is truth, but not in what you meant. BTC all-time highs this weekend. Yeah, that was pretty fun. Yeah. If you're not going to use your free speech to criticize your own government, then what the hell is the point of having it? Michael Template. Hey, that's a great way to go about it. But also, in my opinion, I'm using my free speech to expose what it is that the government is doing. Now, most people are using their free speech to criticize the government, which is fine. I mean, you can criticize all kinds of people out there, but that's putting an expectation on an external. And to me, that's really not going to change anything about anything that's happening out there. It's like, oh, you're mean, right? Now go and change your behavior. Right? Nobody cares, right? Nobody cares about your critique or anything else that's happening out there. But if you can explain something that they are doing in a way that says, oh man, I think I can position myself to deal with this in a much better fashion than what it is that the politics are offering, right? I'm using my free speech. That's what I mean, I have the freedom to say whatever words I want, right? And those are the words I'm choosing to use because I think they're helpful and useful. I mean, to me they are. I don't know about everybody else, you know. I mean, hopefully to somebody else out there, they're at least entertaining. All right. Chris, I guess my greater point is that all of life is corrupt. There is no such thing as purity. You're absolutely right, Nathan. Everything is corrupt, right down to the human and the experience in which that we have with other people. How many times have you experienced something with somebody where you're like, holy moly, man, this guy is off the charts. Like, this is something like, here, maybe there's a little too much vulnerability for you guys, but I'm going to expose a little bit about myself and the way that I feel and think, right? Because there was a time where people were giving me a lot of attention that I was not used to. Like, I was not ready for. I didn't ask for it. I didn't know what was happening, right? And so people were like, oh man, and they start asking me like all these questions, and I realize they think I'm something I'm not, right? Like I had a guy one time, he was just like, so when doing international lumber trades and on and on, and he starts asking me like about this business, and I'm like, I have no clue what it is that this guy's talking about, right? Like he's talking like some detail about like cross-border transactions and stuff. I had no idea what the hell he was talking about, like literally none. And I had to explain to him, I'm like, dude, you do realize I work at a retail store doing retail sales. Like I stand on the counter, I ring up 2x4s, I run down and I load them up in the truck. And he looked at me like, oh. And it's just like his whole demeanor changed and everything. And I never really talked to the guy after that. Like he thought I was something completely different. And so I realized it was just like, oh man, everybody has a different perception of everybody else. What that is very unique to the individual, you know? And so I myself, like, I sometimes have a difficult time trying to share with other people out there who I really am. Right? Just because they already have like this elevated like idea of who I am, and then I don't want to ruin that for them. Essentially, it was just like, here, let me knock you down a notch, and then you'll think of me just like a regular guy, and then they're not impressed with me or anything else. And it's not me to like feel like, oh, I need this person to be impressed, right? But I realized at the time that if I don't share with them who I really am, then it's a manipulation tactic, right? Let me allow them to believe something of me that I'm really not, so that they get a better impression of me. Yeah. See, how many times have you heard this? This is just me in the YouTube channel. How many times have you ever seen somebody acting on their best behavior around a girl or something like that? Like this guy is going to be hanging out with this chick. He's got to be on his best behavior and not act like him real self. All right? So he's on his best behavior, he's acting, he's conducting, he's polite, he's the perfect gentleman, all the other stuff, only to come to find out that as he starts to cut loose and starts to express his real self and who he really is, that he's not that person that the chick was really liking and falling in love with. It was some act that this dude was putting on, because it's a manipulation tactic to get the girl to like him. Right? And then he starts to wonder, well, how come she doesn't like me? And it was just like, because you didn't present yourself the way that you should have from the very beginning to jive and vibrate with the person that is truly the person who you're going to be jiving and vibrating, like being with, right? And so this happens in all kinds of stuff. Like people will, like, it's one thing to do it somewhat in sales, right? Because you're expecting a particular thing. Like you have to be ultra nice to the person in the business deal so that you can get the money, right? But at the end of it, what is it that you're really wanting? I mean, if you were looking for one particular thing out of the particular person for a particular reason, and you're manipulating that outcome, you might be, you might want to question who it is that you really are, who it is that you bring to this world. See, this is where I think a lot of times people who are in sales, who are naturally good at sales, were ultimately naturally good at reading other people and then conducting themselves in a way that meets their approval so that they can get the sale done. All right? Now, me being that natural salesman out there and doing that had to recognize, man, nice guy behaviors and being a person that meets other people's approvals can get very frustrating, especially if you're trying to connect with somebody personally and it's not a business deal. This is where I found a lot of times I would end up finding like people, like I would find friends that, okay, here's a good example of it. Friends that I thought were friends when I was drinking necessarily weren't my friends when I didn't drink anymore because I wasn't on the same feelings and wavelength, right? So I thought that they were my friends, but they weren't. They were just drinking buddies because when we were drinking together, we were on the same plane, right? Everybody is like, man, this is perfect, right? But the moment that you have changed the way that you are conducting yourself or behaving in a way that isn't the way that you used to do, the alcoholic Simon is not the same as the regular Simon. It's a totally different person. And once that started taking place, I had to realize, man, no wonder why I don't have the friends that I used to. And sometimes while it's difficult to make friends because, hell, I had to figure out who I was after I gave up drinking. And you think about it, it was 9 years ago and I'm still like, trying to overcome some of the issues that I was facing back in the day. Knowing that to be the case, like the real Simon finally is coming out to present himself to the world. And this is the reaction that I get from it is like, hey, sometimes people offer up some really fantastic opportunities based on what it is that you have done. That's cool. Other people have looked at what it is that you have done and have this false illusion of who you are. What are you going to do about that? I mean, I can't stop people from thinking the way they think. I can't stop people from change, like I can't change the way that people understand who I am from the past to who I am today. I can't change any of that stuff. The only thing I can really do is show up and try to be honest, truthful, helpful, be myself, conduct myself in a way that says, man, you are not dancing for other people. You're not trying to meet their approval. You're just going for it. The more you do that, the more things start to line up for you. The less issues you have with other people. Right? People will have issues with you if they understand you a particular way, and then all of a sudden you present yourself in the real fashion, not the pretending fashion, the one that's trying to meet the approval, but the one that says, no, man, this is who I really am. The people around you get mad. They will get mad at you. They will be like, dude, you are not that person, and you're like, no, I really am. I was faking it before. And then they get mad at you because you were manipulating them. They thought that you were somebody different. And so once you see that, once you recognize, and then like a lot of times people don't even realize because they didn't even really do it with any kind of real like intention in being harmful or any of that. Like they didn't even have any kind of evil intent. Like the word manipulation sounds like bad, like it has this evil kind of sound to it. But ultimately it wasn't. Like those people were conducting themselves in a way to try and meet their approval so that they would like them. Right? To say, hey man, if you're happy with the way that I'm conducting myself, that's cool. Right? Like that's what they're trying to do. So when they finally get frustrated of pretending and acting that way, and they allow the real person to come out, the other person on the other side says, what the hell were you doing? You faker, you liar, you manipulator. Yeah. And you're like, no, but this is the real me. Please like me. And they're like, I don't want anything to do with you. So that's why most people end up having problems. All right. Why do I talk about that stuff? Don't we talk economics on this channel? All right. Is alcohol defense? I've made some pretty bad decisions completely sober. In alcohol's defense, yeah, I mean, I know that one. Jose, what's your favorite Mexican cerveza? It's because our core prehistoric brain is always only focused on pure survival. Therefore, every unconscious action we make is for our survival. Aloha bra. Alrighty, guys. I don't know. Do you want to stick it out a little bit longer? We have 188 people watching with 114 likes. We can give it a couple of more minutes. If you get it up to, say, I don't know, 130, 140 likes here in the next few minutes, we'll stick around for a little longer. Otherwise, we'll call it quits here at the minute or the hour 35-minute mark. Cruise back and look at some of these comments. All-nighter, how can decentralized all over the world with nodes that run the entire network history of BTC be turned off? Did you read your own question? Yeah, BTC is a funny one. Like, people will talk about how they're never going to touch it with a 10-foot pole, and well, not that you could anyway. But anyway, the people say they're never going to touch it or whatever. And I look at, like, the position that I had taken in it and what it has done so far for me and what I could do with it today. And I think to myself, man, I am so glad I bought BTC. I am so glad I listened to Lynn Alden. I am so glad I'm willing to take that sort of risk, because it is absolutely killing it. Just killing it. You know? All right. And then I love how the people are like, okay, well, let's scare the hell out of you. You're going to lose it all. They're going to turn it off. They're going to make it illegal. And it's like, well, they're not doing that tomorrow. You know? All right. I stole a few locomotives in my youth. Okay. It's common sense, bro. It's only a matter of time. Jose, you joke, but I actually talked to someone who worked for Union Pacific, and believe it or not, someone actually did steal a Union Pacific locomotive. Huh. It's crazy. You would think you could know where it would go. All right. BTC can be touched. It's a tangible but electronic, so shocking. Talk about the crazy house prices. Well, I mean, okay, so talk about the crazy house prices. We can do that. You guys kicked it up there to 124. That's pretty decent. Let me plug this battery in for just a minute. I think a lot of times what people really want an answer to when they ask about the crazy house prices is, are the house prices going to come down, right? Like, I think that's kind of generally, like, the general question behind it. Stay there. Just stay. Perfect. That's kind of like the general question behind it. Are house prices going to come down? Because this is, like, fundamentally, like, what every single person in the entire world would want, right? Is their own home. Now, I'm not saying everybody wants their own home, but generally speaking, if you ask anybody who's like, hey, man, you want a house? They would be like, yeah, I want a house, right? So the difficulties in buying a house or acquiring a house becomes like the major concern for the general population. Where is it that I'm going to live, right? So when I think about over time, this has always been the problem. In fact, I like the tablet that was etched by a Roman. It was like this marble tablet, and he had etched into this thing, engraved or whatever, his three major concerns of life. And I think to myself, this is so good because it was way back in the day. The first one was, where do I get my next meal? What happens if I get sick? How do I pay the rent? These are the three main concerns that this Roman had from way back in the day. And I think to myself, some things will never, ever, ever, ever change. This is one of them. All right. Where do I get my next meal? What happens if I get sick? And how do I pay the rent? Now, when I think about the Cantillon effect and what has taken place now within home prices, it is an obvious sign of the abundance of money that has come into the system. The ability to own a house comes from the ability to build a house. If you can build a house, you can own a house. And if you think if you can't build a house, maybe your brother can or the neighbor can, there's people around who know how to build a house. Now, when it comes to building a house today, It's not like it was back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Right? Even going into the 80s and 90s, houses still aren't necessarily built the way they were back then. Back in the day, an average everyday dude could buy a piece of land and put a house on it. Not much skills. You'd have to have some carpentry skills, kind of have to understand what it is that you were doing, but it didn't take a whole lot to get it done. Think about the abundance of people who would be available to build a house back in the day. Build their own house. Like you build a house and then you move and you build another house. Like how many times could a person in their life build a house, especially if they knew how to do it? Well, that could give an opportunity for lots of houses to exist because the people themselves could provide them. Well, nowadays, people don't necessarily build their own homes. Some people can, but not really. The guy working down at the gas station is not really stopping by the lumber yard to put his house together over the course of a summer. That story doesn't really exist. It comes from finance, it comes from lining up permits and contractors and all kinds of time and effort and energy and money that goes into it. And so ultimately it's only available to those who can afford it, which means that you have to essentially get financing for it. And in order to get financing for it, you have to have the income in order to make that happen. And that income is not available to the majority of the people. And I don't think it ever will be again. At this point on, the ability to get into a house is going to become very difficult for those who are taking the standard approach of working a day job, saving at that day job, putting down a down payment, and then being able to afford the payments. That game is gone. Even a good job sucks. It doesn't work nowadays. The income is not high enough to meet the capabilities. It just doesn't exist. And it's not because of anything that anybody had done outside of the injection of ever increasing amounts of new money, which is inherently corrupted into the system. It cannot change. So if there's ever increasing amounts of money pouring into the system that is going to create the separation between the rich and the poor, and there's no better evidence of that than to look at housing and rent, then you're going to find that the capabilities of the people down at the bottom of the line are going to not be there. They're just not going to be there. You have to take on a whole different approach if you want to be a property owner. And that's what's beautiful about the idea is that once you recognize it, now you don't have to complain about why it is that you can't get into it. What you have to do is then understand the different strategies that you can use in order to acquire that property. Because even though you're not going to be able to use your day job to do it, there are so many other ways of getting it done. Getting creative on how that happens is really your personal choice in your studies and what it is that you are doing out there in order to get what it is that you need. Thinking about how it is that you can do this really comes down to learning it from people who are doing it. Right? Now, me personally, I'm not really into real estate. Like, that's not my stick. Right? That's not my shtick or whatever they say, however they say that, right? That's not what I get into. I know how to work on houses. I've done carpentry a lot. I built a lot of stuff in my life. But when I think about being a landlord, that is like the furthest thing on my mind. That is not my passion. That is not something that I find interesting or fun or even like having a desire to. It's like that's not desirable outcome for me. For other people, that's the only thing that they wish for. That is the one thing that they just wish that they had, was to be a landlord, working on their properties, dealing with them all, collecting the rent, and living a happy life ever after. And that is that. That is all they need in their world. And I think to myself, God, sounds miserable. Right? It just does. Now, when I think, man, I want to be rich. I want to have a lot of money. Like, I want to have so much money that my family doesn't have to worry. Their family doesn't have, like, nobody's family has to worry about nothing because I got it taken care of. I am so awesome. I got it so much money. I'm just super fabulously rich. Okay? I would love to have something like that in my life, just to have that experience and just to know that I was able to get it done. Every single person that I know who has an abundance amount of money and wealth did it in real estate. That's kind of creates a conflict for me. Right? All the people, like every single person I know who has a lot of money, all did it in real estate. All of them. Like all of them. So here it is. I'm in a situation in which that everybody I know has done it in real estate. I don't necessarily want to do it in real estate, but I want to have what they have. Pretty interesting, all right? How is it that I need to get mine? I need to follow my passions, provide helpful and usefulness to this world. Maybe real estate might become part of that in the future. Knowing that I have that in my mind, that I want to be rich, and knowing that it comes from real estate, I know deep down the subconscious is going to line things up. Now, whether I take immediate action on it or I keep developing my skills, my abilities, following my passion, delivering the message, being this, if it happens to be that I end up finding myself in a position in which that real estate is the next move, then I will have known that it was the subconscious lining me up the entire time. Because the universe does that. That's how it works. Exactly. Traffic lights and blood transfusion. Man, it's getting hot in this truck. The sun's beating on me. I remember that music. I want to be rich. I want money. Lots and lots of money. Yep. I don't remember what it was, like that pop band, like, you know. All right, not sure who is truly the poor. In San Diego, they have HV commercials about free food, and everybody seems to have a smartphone. Demetra Marr. Thank you so much. Darnita? Is that the Darnita from way back in the day? Is that the #1 fan, Darnita? All right, I don't want to maintain a house or take care of the land. Name something slaves invented. I'll wait. Wasn't there a form of martial arts, like a choreographed martial arts that the slaves invented that was a dance routine? Like, there's a lot of dance and music culture that came out of slavery. Like, a lot of artistic type of things that couldn't be crafted into an actual item, but, you know, other things, you know, like the music and dance and stuff. So that kind of came out of slavery, that the slaves invent, you know, and still used today, right? It's actually a huge part of the society today. That one video game. Okay. Nice. Oh yeah, my Howley tattoo that I got in Hawaii, my souvenir. Somebody mentioned the tat on the leg. God, where are my glasses? Why am I doing this? How long do you guys want to hang out for? What time is it? We're an hour. You want to go until make it a 2-hour video? Coperia. Yeah, if I'm saying that right, from Brazil. That's right. You ever heard of a man named Frederick Douglass, a former slave? Thomas Edison. What island? So I got this particular tattoo on the Big Island, at Big Island Tattoo. It was actually in a mall. The guy, Oli, was really good. I mean, the tattoo is probably one of the best inks, like considering how simple the tribal tattoo is, but it's probably one of the best laid in inks that I have on, you know, as far as tattoo goes. So it has a little hono on the back with the Big Island kind of outlined on its shell. That one, gosh, I can't even remember how long ago. 20 years ago, I probably got that one. Pretty cool. And then a few years later in Kauai, I had some bamboo tattooed on the back of my arm, and that one turned out really well. The guy, he freehand the outline onto my arm with the pen, and then laid the tattoo in like I think I was in his shop for a total of maybe 45 minutes. It was one of the fastest tattoos I ever got, and it was very, very cool. It's actually pretty decent size. I don't know how the hell he did it so fast. And those were years and years ago. All right. Corpera. All right. When is the government opening back up? I don't know. I hope they stay closed. All right. Let's see. What are you guys talking about? Slaves pretty much invented modern agriculture. Had to get a patent when, well, you're a slave, though. Also didn't invent the rocket or space travel. Have you ever heard of George Washington? What is Prime Kuhu Mall in Hilo? I'm trying to remember. Was it in Hilo? I don't remember. I can't remember where exactly on the Big Island it was. What are you guys talking? Have you ever heard of? Have you ever heard of George Washington? Have you heard of all this? Is AI going to take all our jobs? Jimmy Schmidt? Well, I don't know, probably, but then there's other jobs to do, so don't worry about it. There's plenty of things to do. There's always plenty of stuff to do. That's what I love about the idea that AI is going to come and take away our jobs. It was just like, of course it is. And then there's going to be something else that you can do because there's always something to do. And when I think like all of a sudden everybody's going to lose their job and they're not going to have anything to do and they're just going to waste away and just be, crying on the streets because they can't figure out what it is that they're going to do with their life. And I just find that to be completely amusing. And I don't think that's going to be the case. All right. Now, is it going to disrupt a lot of people? Absolutely it will. But it's also going to allow people to start figuring out what it is that they really should have been doing instead of the mundane things that they have been doing that AI is going to take over. Like I see my job phasing away. My own job at work, like I work retail sales at a lumber yard. Like what could AI possibly do? But it's not even AI doing it. It's just the natural progression of how this is happening. Like I'm ordering so much stuff off of portals now. Like I literally log in like to a portal and order the door that the customer wants. So I ask the customer, what do you want? And the customer tells me, and then I put into the portal what the customer wants. The customer could just do that themselves. They don't need me, right? The only thing that I bring is their options, saying, hey, I can tell you about the different options that you may not be aware of. And so having a conversation with them can give them some sort of that personal touch that they are getting the correct door that they are wanting because of the questions that were asked about it. But essentially, there is nothing that I am doing that the computer couldn't do itself, right? And so knowing that to be the case, I see the bee has come to say hello. Where did it go? Did it go back out there? Just go outside. All right, so he's going to hang out in here with us for a minute. All right. So understanding that to be the case, I'm not concerned about it. I know that I'm going to have to find something else and to do with my life at some point in the future. Like my job isn't going to last forever. I'm not necessarily like okay with it, but I'm like, okay with it. I'm not okay with this bee. Get out. All right. So I'm not okay with it, but I am like essentially okay with the idea that I'm going to have to find something else to do with my life. That's fine, right? I mean, because there's other things that are going on out there that I could totally be doing. In fact, I probably should be doing. In fact, the idea that I'm like seeing my job phasing out is probably the push that the universe is saying, dude, go out there and do your passion, man. Right? Why are you wasting it away here screwing around at a job that's not going to eventually be there for you when you could be doing something that's more helpful and useful to this world? Right? Way to handle the bee, sir. Well, thank you. Man, I am so of the concern that the next time I get stung that I'm going to end up in the hospital or something, because man, the last time I got stung it was around my ankles, and my face started to swell up. Like, I started getting all puffy and really feeling weird and stuff, and I'm like, oh man, the next time is it. um why do you guys keep talking about these other people? uh Owner 1032, have you ever heard of Egyptians? They sort of kind of ruled the world for thousands of years. Did they rule the world? I mean, I understand they ruled their kind of portion of the world, but I don't know if they necessarily ruled the world. Like, Romans took a good chunk of their area, but really, like, when you think about who ruled the world, it's really the people who had the shipping channels that can make it around the world. So, really, it's like those who could transfer or ship or move items, people, stuff, whatever around the world. Those are the people who ruled, who was ever in charge of that. Because everything else was just going to be short lived. Like they could say, oh no, they ruled this area for a while, but then once they couldn't take over anymore, right, the new money stopped pouring in and the whole system collapses. Right. So even though like you might find where the Romans like were ruling their portion of the world for the longest time, eventually it wasn't going to work anymore because they couldn't expand their empire any further than where they had gone. There was no more money to take from anybody else. Once the new money stopped pouring in, it all ended. All right, here is a twofer. Have you ever heard of Wright brothers? All right. Rome is still ruling the world in a lot of ways. Yeah, I can hear you on that. Ruined their currency. They really did. Guys are Hayes economics is what we're living in. I'll have to refresh on that one. Alrighty, guys, we're gonna give it 5 more minutes and then we're gonna call it quits. Call it a 2-hour live stream for the weekend. I'm gonna go over some speeches. Jefferson gave 2 speeches. I thought it was interesting. I wanted to cover the Jefferson speech, but then I saw that he actually had 2 of them. And I think they're the same, but I wanted to read through the second one before I pick which one of them we were going to read, because I think one of them might have some other information that the other one doesn't, but I don't know, so I got to figure that part out after I read it. But we are going to cover another Federal Reserve speech real soon. Let me see if I can find a Federal Reserve speech. All right. Federal Reserve speeches. Yeah, he gave one October 3rd, Economic Outlook and the Fed's Monetary Policy Framework. And then on September 30th, a few days earlier, he gave monetary policy framework and the U.S. economic outlook. So he reversed those 2 things. And I don't know if it's the exact same speech or not. Like I said, I was going to read that first one, but then he had that other one come out, and I'm like, oh, crap. Well, I should probably read that one to see if it's more important or not. But they could be just the exact same speech. I'm just not sure why they would put both of them there when they're essentially the same. But anyway, we'll try and cover that here real soon. Like I said, I wanted to do that today, but then I found that thing popped up. So, an original and revised speech. All right. Not the entire world. Have a good week. Yeah, you too, Dave. All right. If it hadn't been for the Wilbur, oh, you guys are still talking that history. Okay. The Rome to the first pilots. Okay. We got anything else? Have you ever heard of Charles? Have you ever, okay, Rome ruined the currency? I don't know. I think we're getting close to the end here. We're just talking about, okay, I rewatched the streams because I missed the first part. Well, good, Jim. Thank you so much for coming back and, watching the beginning of it. Something tells me Jesus does not like silver. All right. Ben Bernanke, owner, and Jose blocked. I don't know. Do you follow oil news? I don't personally watch a whole lot of oil news just because I don't know a whole lot about the industry from the insider, perspective. All I get is just the mainstream media attention to it. So, I mean, I do follow in the sense that it's like, gas prices are high and barrel of oil is low. I kind of look at it in like that, world demand for it and stuff, kind of how that like really I look at oil a lot like I look at lumber and a lot like I look at silver. And maybe not so much silver right now because it's had the extreme move that it's had lately, and so people will call me out saying, no, that's not right. But like things like lumber and oil are showing signs that the inflation doesn't show up everywhere. Like if you took all the inflation away that we have experienced, how cheap should lumber and oil be now? But we have had all this destruction of the dollar, which shows purchasing power being lost. But yet here we got oil and lumber under their all-time highs. Like lumber is significantly under the 1700 per thousand. It's like at 620 or something like that. And oil peaked out at what, $150 a barrel, and it's at $60 a barrel. So like lumber and oil, two vital commodities known to man, show no signs of inflation. So I look at it like that, And a lot of times people will say, well, it's a manipulation game and all that other stuff that goes into it. And I totally get it. Like I totally understand it, All right. How much gold does UE own? It's an unfortunate Bill Trader. It's unfortunate. I can't really tell you how much I own because I lost it all in an unfortunate boating accident the other day. And I didn't really want to bring it up or talk about it because it's been a significant thing that I have had in my life now. And to find that it is now missing from my experience here is really pretty devastating. I know I can get it back. Right? I mean, I'm not going to get back that part because it's gone forever. It's sunk. But I know I can get it back. I can start today. I can dollar cost average back into it, and I can position myself back into silver because the feeling of loss is a lot, right? It's a bit overwhelming to take, but I know it's not everything. It's not everything in my life, and I can get it back. I can dollar cost average back into it. It's tragic. It was. Boats in Astoria are very accident prone. They are. Standard nursery, you wouldn't believe it. It's just like, I could not believe how much has been lost in the Columbia River. Since I was a little kid, it has been ongoing. From firearms to silver to everything. Like everything has been lost in that river. It's just unreal. It's like, it just takes it all away. All right. So I'm wondering if they're manipulating the market to create short-term inflation due to the lack of supply. So I'm wondering if they're manipulating the market to create short-term inflation due to the lack of supply. Well, I think the only way that you can really create an inflationary scenario is through the lack of supply, because stimulating the consumer is a very difficult task. So you're going to get it from supply and demand. Right? You got supply, you got demand, prices are found in between the two. Now, if you are trying to create an inflationary scenario and you're generally doing that through added consumption, but the people who are generally consuming are now debt saturated and an increased pay doesn't benefit them any, like the good job sucks, that really relies on just the top household incomes to be the consumer, which is going to drive inflation. Now, the other way you can make this scenario work is to limit the amount of supply. If you limit the amount of supply, the natural offset to that will be an increase in consumption. Then you would have the inflationary pressures again. So if that's your problem, is that you're looking for inflation or you need an inflationary scenario and you can't find it through the added consumption because the people are debt saturated and you would have to rely on the top 20%, then the only other way that you're really going to be able to find an inflationary scenario is to sever the supply And that's what I believe tariffs is all about, or at least the credible threat of tariffs cutting off supply is creating an inflation expectation that it would naturally lead into an inflationary scenario, as the people would demand a higher return on their capital investments and they would expect to pay a higher price going into the future, and it just naturally causes it to take place. Hi.
It's afternoon. If we're gonna go do anything before the 4-H meeting, we're gonna.
Okay. Well, I'm leaving now. Yep. Uneducated Economist, you guys let me know.